I'm Melissa, 32.
Standing in the boardroom where I've just claimed victory, I can still feel the weight of the moment. The polished mahogany table, once a symbol of my family's power, now lies before me as a testament to the change I've wrought. The board members, their expressions a mix of shock and respect, look at me with newfound awe. It's a far cry from the dismissive glances I endured for so long. 6 years ago, I was just a young scientist with a dream, working day and night in a small lab at Sterling Enterprises, a company founded by my grandfather. My father, Henry, a 58-year-old man with an iron fist approach to business, saw my research into quantum stability as a waste of company resources. My sister, Lily, 30, was the golden child, the one who schmoozed with investors and made deals. She saw my work as a threat to her position within the company. I remember that fateful day when I arrived at the company headquarters 30 minutes early for the quarterly board meeting. The scent of expensive wood and cologne hit me as I pushed open the heavy glass doors. Something in my father's voice during our phone call the previous day had left me uneasy. He'd said it was just a routine discussion about budget allocations, but his tight tone suggested otherwise. As I walked down the executive floor, the thick cream-colored carpet muffling my footsteps, I passed family portraits. The stern faces of my ancestors seemed to watch me, judging my every move. My simple charcoal pantsuit suddenly felt inadequate compared to the opulence of the corporate world my family inhabited. When I heard voices from the boardroom, I slowed my pace. The door was slightly ajar, and a sliver of light spilled into the hallway. A voice I didn't recognize said, "Just sign here, Henry. Novatech is ready to wire the funds as soon as we close." My father replied, "5 million is robbery considering what we've put into that division." Lily's voice dripped with confidence as she said, "It's more than fair for unproven technology." My heart pounded. They were discussing my division, my life's work. I pushed the door open, and 4 heads snapped up in unison. My father sat in his tailored suit, Lily in her signature red dress with diamond buttons that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Mark, the CFO, hunched in his chair, and a thin man in glasses I didn't know. Papers were scattered across the table. One slid towards me, and I caught the words Quantum Stability Division Asset Transfer Agreement in bold before Lily snatched it away. My father recovered first and said, "The meeting isn't for another half hour." I cried out, "You're selling my life's work without even telling me." My father sighed and straightened his cuffs. "Your little science project has drained enough company resources, Melissa. 6 years of funding with nothing concrete to show investors." I stepped forward, hands trembling. "We've achieved quantum stability at room temperature for 17 minutes. Do you have any idea what that means?" Lily laughed mockingly. Melissa's basement tinkering, always promising breakthroughs that never materialize. I looked to Mark for support, but he stared at his shoes, trying to disappear. Then I remembered my grandmother, Clara. 3 months before she died, her weathered hands had gripped mine. "They don't understand vision, Melissa," she'd whispered. "But I do. That's why I'm setting up this trust for your research. Don't let them stop you." 6 years of 18-hour days, my small team working weekends and holidays, pushing the boundaries of what everyone said was impossible. My father dismissing my quarterly reports without reading them, Lily mocking my work at family dinners. And now, they were selling it all for a fraction of its worth. My father said, "The board agrees it's time to cut our losses." I countered, "The board hasn't met yet." He waved it off as a formality, saying the voting shares were already aligned. As I turned to leave, my legs felt like lead. But then, my grandmother's voice echoed in my mind. "Remember who owns those patents, Melissa?" I turned back and said, "You might want to check the ownership of those patents before you sign anything else." My father's expression shifted, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Lily's hand froze in mid-air. Mark looked up, his eyes widening. I walked out, closing the door behind me. The revolution had begun. The next day, after getting more documents to defend my research, I paced my living room, dialing my lawyer, Sarah's number. When she finally answered, she said she was outside with reinforcements. I opened the door to find Sarah in a sharp black suit, and behind her was DR. Ethan, my research partner, carrying a stack of papers. Sarah said, "You were right. We found everything." Ethan set up his laptop on my kitchen counter, and Sarah spread documents across my coffee table. She tapped a thick folder and said, "Your father has systematically blocked every funding request you've submitted for the past 3 years." Ethan turned his laptop towards me. On the screen was a presentation with Lily's name on it, showing quantum stability algorithms identical to ours. "She's been stealing our research," I said, my voice hollow. Ethan explained that Lily had convinced one of our IT guys to give her access to our servers for a so-called security audit. I also found emails between Lily and my father. One from my father said, "Don't worry about Melissa's funding requests. The board never sees them. I make sure of it." Another from Lily was about potential investors interested in our work, and my father's response was to transition ownership to Lily's division when the time was right. Filled with anger, I decided to confront them again. An hour later, we entered the company headquarters. In the elevator, Sarah handed me a thick legal document. "Your grandmother was smarter than all of them combined. The patents are in your name, funded through her trust. Your father can't touch them." When I pushed open the boardroom door, it fell silent. My father, Lily, Mark, and 3 of my father's golf buddy board members were there. My father warned me it was a private meeting, but I stepped in and said, "This is about my research division, so I should be here." Lily tried to brush it off as an asset realignment, but Ethan interrupted and placed a flash drive on the table. Sarah stepped forward and presented documentation of intellectual property theft, fraud, and misappropriation of resources. She said any attempt to sell my patents to Novatech was corporate fraud. My father tried to dismiss it as my overactive imagination, but I stood my ground. I said, "The patents are in my name, funded by grandmother's trust." She saw what you couldn't or wouldn't. A silver-haired board member, Mrs. Thompson, called for an emergency meeting the next morning for full financial disclosure. My father's face turned red as he realized he was losing control. After the meeting, I received a PR statement from the company that tried to discredit me. My key card access was terminated, and my team was put on administrative leave. But my team, led by Ethan, showed up at my apartment with boxes of equipment and research. They'd seen this coming and had been backing up everything off-site. Mark also came to my apartment. He admitted he'd known about the sale and Lily's theft but had been a coward. He gave me a folder of financial records proving that Lily's division hadn't produced original research in years. I spent the night poring over company documents. I found a clause in the company's founding charter, inserted by my grandfather and reinforced by my grandmother. If there was an attempt to appropriate intellectual property, the voting shares would shift to the person whose IP was threatened. The next morning at the emergency board meeting, I was ready. I presented my case, showing that my quantum stability algorithm had been officially granted a patent, had a National Science Foundation breakthrough designation, and had initial licensing interest starting at $4. $2 billion. I also revealed Lily's research fraud and the fact that as of the previous day's attempted sale, I'd become the controlling shareholder of Sterling Enterprises. The room erupted, and for the first time, I saw fear in my father's eyes. Now, sitting at the head of the table where my father once sat, I look around at the board members. I'm ready to lead the company in a new direction. The revolution isn't just about quantum science. It's about justice, truth, and the power of vision. As I guide a group of young scientists through the renovated headquarters, the scent of fresh paint and innovation fills the air. The old, closed-off offices have been replaced by open, collaborative spaces. Our quantum stability lab is at the heart of it all. A young scientist asks, "Dr. Melissa, is it true your team achieved stability for over 80 minutes now?" I smile and say, 87 minutes and counting. And please call me Melissa. Later, in the boardroom, I present our latest patents, a quantum-based cancer detection technology with a 96% success rate. The board members listen intently, their expressions a far cry from the dismissive ones of the past. My mother, Grace, approaches me after the meeting. She's wearing a simple gray dress, looking more vulnerable than I've ever seen her. I slide a folder across the table and say, "I'd like you to consider heading the Sterling Charitable Foundation." Grandmother would have wanted healing where possible. In the evening, as I sit at my desk reviewing plans for our new research campus, a news alert flashes across my screen. Sterling Enterprises' value has tripled since the restructuring. I smile, close my laptop, and glance at the clock. 5:30 p.m.
M.
For the first time in years, I'm leaving on time,